Welcome to the Multifamily Customer Portal tutorial series. This tutorial focuses on the scoring wizard, the tool you use to complete the self-scoring process for the 2024-2025 Qualified Allocation Plan. For an in-depth look at the selection criteria that you will use to score your application, review the self-scoring worksheet training available at mnhousing.gov. Topics covered include about the scoring wizard, and a portal demonstration on how to create a score sheet, claim points, submit a final score sheet, and generate a scoring summary report. Lastly, we'll go through some reminders about using the scoring wizard. The scoring wizard allows applicants to complete the self-scoring process within the portal. The scoring wizard guides users through the scoring process. When you enter information about your project, the scoring wizard identifies the points you are eligible for based on the information provided. Create test scenarios. Not sure how claiming certain criteria will impact your score? You can create up to 4 scenarios in the scoring wizard and then submit the final version when you are ready. Auto-calculates formulas in real time to reduce complexity and errors. Not sure which value to include in the denominator? The scoring wizard does the calculations for you. Provides easy access to scoring resources. The links to the scoring guide and other resources are available throughout the scoring wizard. And it generates a PDF scoring summary. You can create a PDF of the points you've claimed for your records. We will now transition to a demonstration of the portal where we will walk through how to create and submit a score sheet using the scoring wizard. Note that in this demonstration, I've already logged in and created my project using the Apply for Funding wizard. View the Apply for Funding tutorial for instructions on completing these steps. To launch the scoring wizard, navigate to the project that you have created and click the Scoring Wizard button. A new screen will pop up. When you first open the scoring wizard, you'll be prompted to either accept or decline our terms and conditions. Upon accepting the terms and conditions, you'll be prompted to create either a test scenario or a final version of the score sheet. You may create up to 4 score sheets, including 3 test scenarios and 1 final version. Only the final version will be reviewed by Minnesota Housing upon submission. For this demonstration, I am going to start with a test scenario. On this new screen, you'll note that there is a path at the top that would allow me to jump from section to section of the scoring wizard. And there is also links to different resources that are available to me. If I want, I can hide the instructions by clicking the toggle button. I can make the instructions reappear by clicking the toggle button again. I'm now going to start entering data into the scoring wizard. One of the first things that you'll do is to briefly describe the scenario that you're scoring. This field is simply used for you to differentiate between different score sheet scenarios. It will not impact your score in any way. One other thing to note on the scoring setup page is that you can switch the score sheet at any time from test scenario to final version. Note that only one of your score sheets may be marked as a final version. Then you'll go through and enter in data, including units as well as information about the location of your project. I'll use the buttons at the bottom in order to progress through the score sheet. I can save and close, choose a different score sheet if I decide that I want to work on a different scenario, save my progress just on this one page, or hit Save and Next. Throughout the scoring wizard, there are validation rules in place. For example, if I were to enter a number that's not valid, I'll see a red error message flag on the screen. Alternatively, in some cases, I will see a pop-up window appear as I navigate through. In some cases, my response to a question will cause additional information to populate on the screen or additional questions to be asked. Here's an example of a type of validation that will occur on the screen. If in this case, I've missed a question that's required. Here's an example of a pop-up that may appear if the information I've entered into the scoring wizard conflicts with the validation rule in place. It's identified the questions that I need to modify and asked me to either leave the scoring wizard or change the values. I'm going to click Change the Values. I'll go back and I'll modify the information that I provided. Looks like I still am not within the limit, and so you'll note that it's flagged me again. I'll now continue to move through the various questions in order to show you how this particular tool works. Under the geographic choice, note that there is a link to our community profiles for you to look at our geographic priorities. There is also a link to Walk Score. Here's a space where you'll see that the percentage of total cost auto-calculates as I enter in data. On the Claims Points page, you will need to indicate which points that you are claiming. Note that by default, all of the points that you're eligible for are claimed. However, you can go through and unclaim points if you'd like, or in some instances, you can claim a point value in a range below those that you qualified for. So, for example, I am going to click the plus button next to a category to review those points that I'm claiming. And you can see that I currently qualify for 10 points under permanent supportive housing for high priority homelessness. Now, if I did not want to actually claim points for this particular category, I'd use the toggle feature to unclaim the points. You can see the claimed points went from 10 to 0. The other thing that I can do in some cases, primarily in the efficient use of scarce resources and leverage section, is I can opt to claim fewer points than I'm actually eligible for. We see this frequently with intermediary costs, for example. In order to give myself a buffer, say the intermediary cost may go up over time, maybe I'll claim 3 points instead of 6 points in order to give myself a buffer. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and pick. If I see a category where I feel like I should have received points, but it's not currently identifying those, what I can do is look at the language that says data used, and it will tell me where I need to go back into the scoring wizard in order to make adjustments. So, for example, if I felt that I should have received additional points under serves lowest income for rent reduction, I would go to both review the total units grid to make sure that I have the correct number of units in that space. And I'd also look at the serves lowest income unit grids to make sure I didn't make any mistakes. If I needed to go back to a spot, I could click on the label in the path and it'll take me back to that page. So in this case, I'm going to click serves lowest income, and I can come back and review the serves lowest income grid that I mentioned. If I'd like, I could continue to progress through all of the pages again using the Save and Next button, or I can jump to the top by using the path as I did before. I am going to go first to the claims points page. Again, I'm going to review this and make sure that the points I'm claiming are the ones that I would like to claim. And then I'm going to click Save and Review. On the Save and Review tab, you're able to generate a scoring summary report with all of the data that you have entered into the scoring wizard, as well as a summary of points. You'll see if I scroll through, it will first show me all of the points that are available to me, including maximum points, the ones that are available to me based on the information I've provided, and the points that I've actually claimed. You'll be able to see where the data is pulled from. And then at the bottom, you'll be able to see all of the data that you've actually entered into the scoring wizard. If I wanted, I could generate this into a PDF by clicking Print to PDF. Now, one thing I want to point out at the very bottom of the scoring wizard on this page is that there is an option to verify only, but I do not have the ability to submit. There's also a note that says this score sheet is saved as a test scenario. And in order to make my score sheet a final version and therefore eligible for submission, I need to go and mark this score sheet as final. So I am going to do that by scrolling back up to the top and clicking on the score sheet setup page. And I am going to switch the score sheet version from test scenario to final version. Again, I must do this in order to actually submit this score sheet. Now I'm going to go back to the Review and Report tab, scroll down, and now I'll see that I have a Verify and Submit button. The system will check to see if there's any additional validation errors and flag those if there are. If there are no validation errors, you will be able to submit your score sheet. Note that when you submit your score sheet, it locks the score sheet, so you will no longer be able to make edits. Contact mhfa.app@state.mn.us in order to unlock your score sheet if it's before the deadline. If you decide that you're not actually ready to submit, you can go ahead and click Not Yet, Return a Scoring Summary. I'm going to click Yes, Submit Score Sheet. I will see on the screen that the score sheet was submitted, and I will also receive an email notification stating that the score sheet was submitted. Then I'm going to click Finish. If at any point I want to go back to the scoring wizard, I'll click the scoring wizard button again. Because this isn't the first time that I've opened up the scoring wizard for this project, I'm not getting those terms and conditions. You'll also note that because I've already submitted a score sheet, I only have the ability to create test scenarios. So even though I've submitted my score sheet, I can continue to create test scenarios up to 3. If I had not yet submitted, I could create additional scenarios in this space. To view the score sheet I've already submitted, I'll click next to that record and click Open Selected Score Sheet. Because I've already submitted this score sheet, all I'll be able to do is review the scoring summary report. I'm going to hit Save and Close. A few reminders about the scoring wizard. The Data Used language on the Claim Points tab identifies which grids or questions are used to calculate points available to claim. If you see an error, please be sure to review these sections to validate that the data you've provided is accurate. You have the ability to switch a score sheet from the test to final version. Your score sheet must be identified as the final score sheet in order for you to get the Submit button. Submit the final score sheet before the deadline. Contact mhfa.app@state.mn.us if you need to modify a submitted score sheet prior to the deadline. For more information, be sure to check out the user guide and other video tutorials on Minnesota Housing's Multifamily Customer Portal Resources page. For system questions, contact mhfa.app@state.mn.us. For questions regarding your application, contact technicalassistancerequest.mhfa@state.mn.us. Thank you. That concludes this tutorial.